here on Twitch, and I'm happy to see so many of you guys have decided to show up early on in the morning. I appreciate you guys showing up and giving some support. So, without any further ado, I do really want to get into this. I'm super excited to talk about Cyberpunk today, especially after I delved into so much Cyberpunk stuff yesterday, or last night, I should say, to get ready for today, and like it's, I'm so amped. I'm so ready, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick this off. If you are good to go, Thomas.
I'm good to go. I'm always good to go.
Okay, so let's start this off with something. Look at this. Look at this dog over here.
Eat the dog.
Hades, knock that off. Hades, knock that off. What are you doing?
Eat the dog.
Anyways, I'm not gonna eat the dog. What the hell kind of thing is that to
Eat
say?
the dog. Eat the dog. Eat the dog. Lick the toad. Lick the
Don't
toad.
say that. So, anyways, I wanted to ask you, Thomas, what what are you? God, how do I word this? What are you excited about the most when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077?
So, like, dead ass, I've tried to not delve too much into, like, all the pre release information, especially because, like, news outlets have that shit everywhere.
Right.
But I'm just stoked to have, like, a solid RPG. Like, there's been
Hmm.
like especially this year has kind of like left me in a funk game wise. Like I haven't really
Yeah.
played anything that's like super forefront of my mind, stand out ish. Like I've uh relegated myself to playing like old shit. Like I've been playing a Smite a lot, like whatever, and I just been like, man, I need an RPG in my life. And then like
Right.
I'll boot stuff up and be like, man, this ain't it, Chief. And like I'm just stoked for like an RPG that seems sick as fuck. The premise is sick as fuck. Like I don't know if you've like kind of looked at the timeline. IGN posted a whole article like yesterday about like the timeline of events and how
Yeah.
their timeline is different than ours and shit like that. And like seems sick. Everything seems sick. Like Cyberpunk is like right up my alley, like aesthetically speaking, and also like the gameplay looks smooth from what they've released. Plus Keanu Reeves is in it. Like I'm stoked. I'm hyped.
Yeah. I'm super excited for Keanu Reeves. I'll be honest, I'm right there with you. Like I have wanted an RPG to play for the longest time, one that I can like really delve into because I think the last RPG that I played that I really was just swept away with was The Witcher, and that came out a few years ago at this
Mm-hmm.
point, you know. Um and I find myself like really wanting to play one, so I keep going back to playing The Witcher. I've played The Witcher like 3 or 4 times now, all the way through, doing all the contracts and everything. When I'm not doing that, I'm playing Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, or I'm reliving my childhood by playing through the Fable games. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I just feel like we've had a lack of like really solid time worthy RPGs to play. Like I'm not saying anything against like Dragon Age. Obviously we love Dragon Age here in the podcast. So from the last podcast that we did, we had a full blown conversation about it, or Mass Effect for that matter. But those were like the only real RPGs I could think of that really just stand out to be great RPGs, right? Like everything else I've played, I've never really like I didn't really enjoy it as much as the main ones that I've mentioned. But looking forward, this is going to be an absolutely amazing experience to take place in. We have several things that again that I want to conversate or go over as far as topics go. But the most things that I'm looking forward to is to be able to play something that I can really just delve into and have a fun experience playing through it. Right,
Mm-hmm.
not something that I feel like is going to be hollow or something that's going to feel like it's very boring or something that's like, oh, I just want to shoot through the main storyline because that's the only thing that's interesting about this game, right? Like, obviously, we're not looking at things like that. We're looking at the whole aspect, the whole theme of it, right? The world that it's going to be placed in, the characters that we're looking at, the I don't necessarily know how to really go into detail about it, but it the whole thing is just it's a mesmerizing experience. Like you need to know what's next, what's behind the next door. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited about that. Um, Now going off of multiple doors and so on, there are apparently multiple starts for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the starts that you pick through the at the beginning of the game and the options and stuff that you decide, uh, will actually dictate how your story will play out all the way through to the end, right? Um, what? Brisk tea and chill. Good morning, Unit Cloak. Welcome to the podcast. I'm happy to see you here. But yes, so there are multiple starts at the beginning. You have a nomad start, you have the street life start, and you have a corporate start, right? And when I was discussing with you earlier, I didn't really want to go too deep into it, but I want to go into it now. Now that we're during the podcast, I can believe it. I always rant. Yeah, fair enough. So the nomad start, Thomas, is a very like Mad Max start of the
Mm-hmm.
game. So you don't start in the city. You start on the outskirts of the city, which is like a dystopian like wasteland. It's all desert and like no water or anything. You've got these guys that are a bunch of motorheads. Like they're all interested in cars and jacking cars up and getting the next like upgrade for it and so on. And the friends that you make at the beginning of that actually influence the way that the game plays out throughout the entirety of the game itself, right? Now, they said this game isn't going to be as long as The Witcher 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing about that is that's arguable because the nomad life and the street life and the corporate life all play out differently. So the options and choices that you decide to pick throughout the nomad life style is a completely different reality, ending, and and character befriending experience or character rivalry experience than the street life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if you pick the nomad, you're not gonna have the same life as you would if you pick the street life. Or if you pick the street life, you're not gonna have the same one as you would as the corporate and vice versa, et cetera, right? Um Now, again, like I said, like it's very arguable that this game isn't going to be as long as The Witcher. Uh, its replayability is massive just from that alone. You know, if you pick the street life, you start off as kind of like a thug, like a gangster on the streets, trying to get the next upgrade for yourself, and so on and so forth. Or the corporate life, where you start off as an agent working for the higher ups of the society, who work in like the big, massive corporate towers that dictate like your life, your money, religion, everything that has anything to do with the city. They are the ones that dictate it, and they each play out kind of differently to set up different stories all the way throughout your entire experience. So which one you pick will help dictate what we get towards the end product, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And what are your thoughts on that?
As long as they are as different as like they advertise it to be, I guess, like there's massive replayability to the game. Like,
Right.
have you played Outer Worlds?
Yes, I have played Outer Worlds.
Outer
That's a
World,
great game.
like Outer Worlds is great, but
Mhm.
like a lot of people replay it just to try different builds. But besides branching decisions at like what 5 points in the game, maybe like the game does not play differently. Like your
Right.
party is going to be roughly the same unless you're just a complete prick or don't decide not to pick anybody up. Um, it's not like it's it's really like build replayability as opposed to like story replayability, because I don't know about y'all, but like I've replayed RPGs before and you just like grinded it out and then you go to restart and you're like I want to play a different character and you're immediately bored. Like
Yep.
you're pumped, you're super stoked. You're like, "Oh, I'm going to be an archer this time," or "Oh, I'm going to be this." And then like you go to do the first quest again, and because it's so fresh in your mind, you're bored like off the rip. You're just like, "Oh,
Right.
I don't want to do this again." And
Yeah.
because the biggest thing that hit me with that is fucking Borderlands. Like, bro, that first like the first little bit of Borderlands is fucking just it's always a slog. And I hope
I
and if there's if there's variation in the start and that variation is maintained, that's sick. Like that's sick as fuck. And that will add
mhm.
massive amount of replayability. If it's only like the opening sequence is different and then you boil down into the same like on the back end, like you have like your tutorial or your little opening sequence whatever and like you go through and you're like, oh, they're introducing you to like your life or your lifestyle or whatever. And if that boils into, well, you've hit like, oh, you're just now like I'm trying to think of like an example. Like I have not played the game, and if this ends up being a spoiler, like I don't know what to tell you.
I don't
This
think any of us have
like
played it.
this is conjecture. But like
Uh-huh.
if there was like a start that said like the nomad, like your whole point is to get into the city that's like locked down or whatever, and then suddenly you get into the city and everyone's like, yeah, you're poor and gotta start from nothing. You're like,
Mhm.
fuck. And then like the gangster one's like, oh, guess what? You were left for dead. You're starting with nothing and you're poor, Or you got
Right.
fired from the company. You're start with nothing. You're poor. Like somehow, like outside of the opening sequence, it all boils down to like,
To coming back to the same thing.
right. If that happens, that's gonna be boring. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
replay it once or twice. Like I'm a person that to experience a good story, I only really play the game like once, unless the gameplay like is super sick. I'll only really play a game once and then maybe touch it a couple of years later to like have a refresher.
Right.
If I hope Cyberpunk's not that way, but I mean I'm okay with that to a degree too because like a solid single player experience is all I'm looking for right now. And if it feels that void in my life, I'm chill. I am super stoked for there to be alternate like starts, but like if the starts are kind of like superficially different, I'll be sad.
Yeah, I agree. Now, so from what they said, each start will be like it all boils down differently. Like, who you become friends with. Like, for instance, we've all seen the trailer for the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're hanging out with that guy, you go out and you do a mission with them, then you guys jump in the car and he dies in the car or whatever. Like that whole sequence is completely different if you pick a different lifestyle. Like, you don't even get into that cutscene
Mm-hmm.
essentially. Um, However, the chip that they have to go and get is important to the story. Now, if anybody is a Cyberpunk fan, they should know what the chip is. If you don't know what the chip is, I'm sorry. Just by the name, like the name is what's important about it. So I don't want to say what the name is in case you don't know what it is, but the chip itself is what is important about that whole situation, not the scene given to you, but the one thing that you got from the whole situation. That's what's important to the game. Um, I myself have played through the Cyberpunk 2077 role playing tabletop experience from start to finish, so I kind of have an idea of what we're stepping into
Mm-hmm.
and kind of what the plot is. However, they did say that the main like quest of the Cyberpunk tabletop is different, like almost entirely different than what we're going to be playing and experiencing in in the game. However, there are key points that aren't different because they can't be different because it's around what the story is based on, such as the chip, for instance, right? And the character you play as. Now, anyways, uh, going on from there, I'm really excited about the multiple starts thing. Like, if that's the case, we are looking at a game that has reached like a peak replayability aspect to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you can only change the story so much before it's impossible to be the same game or the same story, right? So, like, for instance, if you were playing The Witcher, right? If you're playing The Witcher and there was a multiple start thing there, you could only do so much before it's a whole completely different fucking game, you know? So they can only change so much throughout the multiple lifestyle paths that you can pick. But each one of them inserts new friends that you wouldn't be friends with in the other life path, and so on and so forth. Like, or rivals that you wouldn't be rivals with in another life path, and so on. Now, with all this being said, there is a lot of controversy facing the game right now on not the what it's based around, but first person view only. Um, because apparently that's going to be the thing. So it's only going to be in first person. It's there. It seems like the ride, like driving your vehicles and stuff like that, will be in third person or first person, depending on what you decide and pick on. But from everything else, it looks like the game is solely going to be played in first person view only. I think cutscenes will be third person though. I'm not entirely sure. Again, we no one has gotten their hands on the game yet, besides like certain higher up people in streaming and YouTubing and such. So, what are your thoughts on that possibility that it's literally just going to be a first person game outside of a few specific parts?
I mean, I'm chilling. I love first person games. Like I love first person RPGs. It could stay locked in the first person the whole game, and I'm vibing.
Right.
To me, first person games are like super immersive. Like
Mhm.
more so than third person games. Like to me, a third person game, I am experiencing another person's story. In first
Right.
person games, it feels like I'm experiencing my own story. And Zach, are you alive?
Absolutely. Mm, I think so.
That was wild.
I'm alive. It's probably right around that time where they fly those planes overhead, and I lose all my internet connection for split moments here and there in between. But yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead.
um, it feels like I'm experiencing like my own story, and that's why like I super enjoy playing first person games like as a whole. Specifically like the RPG paths, like Skyrim and Fallout. I played exclusively in first person. I felt like third person felt kind of clunky, blah blah blah. But like, I feel like if Cyberpunk did let you opt to play third person, that's gonna feel more like a third. It's gonna feel more like a third person shooter because the combat is gun centric. Like as far as I know, gun and augmentation centric. And that's not a bad thing. But like, I hope it feels better than Fallout 4 did or Fallout 76 did because like
Fallout 4 was kind of a tragedy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not like Fallout 4 or 76 for that matter. But
as
go on.
as long as like it feels better than those situations, like I think we'll be fine. But I'm super
Right.
stoked. I don't mind the fact that it's first person locked. I just
So
hope driving isn't trash.
yeah, agreed. I did get to see some gameplay of the driving in the game, and the driving looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I'll get into driving after I get through with my point here. Um, Now, as far as the first person only view, I'm super excited for that, honestly. Like you said, if I was playing it in third person, I would feel like I'm playing somebody else's story versus playing my own story. So the fact that it's in first person makes me feel much more immersed when I'm playing through the game. Now, the argument comes like, what's the point of character customization if I can't see my character? Now, I can understand that, but you're creating this character that you are viewing through your own eyes, right? Like you create this character, this is your embodiment. This is what you look like when you look in the mirror. You know what I mean? In the
Mm-hmm.
game. And when you go into cutscenes, there your character look actually is like full blown, like as well as it could possibly be, as well done as it could possibly be. Now, I think that the fact that they go into first person only at specific parts kind of saves on like polygams or whatever they're called. I forget what the name of it is called.
Polygons.
Polygons. Yeah, there you go. Why am I dumb today? Anyway, polygons. It saves on polygons through like constant playing, right? Like it doesn't have to load your character in every specific detail about your character while it's trying to load the rest of the game at the same time. You know what I mean? Like it only has to focus on the specifics of what's right in front of you, which helps the rendering and so on of the game. So honestly, like looking at it at a more technical standpoint, like that makes more sense to me. If you want to get the full detail of like what the game should look like graphically, then this is probably the best way to go about doing it. And they can afford to step away from it when you're in the vehicle because you're going to be going at a faster speed anyway. So like it doesn't have to render everything as perfectly as it normally would until like it's keeping track with how fast you're moving to how slow you're moving, like in most driving games do. So I mean that all works. So that's my personal opinion on it. Looking at it in like a technical manner, he took off his glasses. He's going in. I took off my glasses because the freaking reflection on my second monitor is just like beaming all over my face. So it's so bright. I don't know why. But anyway, um, so that's my personal opinion on it. Now I looked at some of the driving and stuff for the game, including cars and such, and they have multiple different car types, like car classes
Mhm.
that you can like go and buy and pick and everything. And apparently the developers wanted to make you feel like no matter at what moment or time or position that you are in, you will always have access to your vehicle. So something really cool that they put into the game is to make it feel like Roach from The Witcher, is like you have a implant that you can buy at one of the things, and you can call your vehicle to you at any moment, and it'll drive up to you. Now that's fucking cool.
That's
That's a
sick.
really cool thing. Now that's a thing that you can go out of your way to buy if you want to. You know what I mean? And we don't know how these implants are going to necessarily work. We don't know if you can have like specific implants um like sockets at all times, or if you can have everything on you at one time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I would imagine that you can only have a specific amount at once versus having multiples, right? And then each one would have like a level up to it or like an upgrade system to each one. So like if you got the vision, right, to upgrade your vision to have like night vision and thermal and stuff in your eyes, I would assume that you can only have those and upgrade those as they go versus having the one that will allow you to see like the trajectory of your bullets, for instance. Yeah, I mean, or something like that.
It's
I don't know. We
like
haven't played the game, so
like
like,
one
we
of
don't know
those
what
like
kind of.
we don't know exactly like what kind of RPG experience it is. All we know is it's an RPG.
Yeah.
Like
Uniclux says, "Are we going in like near Automata where you balance your chips?" I'm down. I'm okay with that. I think that's a good
mhm.
idea. What were we saying?
Especially and I basically with how near is the perfect example. Like you could slot your HUD. Like a lot of
Hmm.
I guess a lot of like newbies to near wouldn't like think to do that, but like you could take elements of your HUD away in that game, and I wonder if you can in Cyberpunk. Like, oh, I'm gonna take my ammo counter out to use these points to put somewhere else, or I'm gonna take
Hmm.
my my map out and put it somewhere else or some shit like that. Like I wonder if that's how the chipset will work. Because but also like if it's a traditional like I'm buying the chip and then I'm buying the upgrades for the chip just to like have upgrades. Like I think that's fine too. I have no
Right.
issue with that. If it's
I
but that's a lot more of a traditional RPG experience to me.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I honestly would kind of prefer if they were to go the way that Nier Automata went, where like I have to like kind of subtract from myself if I want to build onto myself. You know what I mean? Like you said, like I had to pull my map chip out and put those points somewhere else, and allocate those points somewhere else to benefit me more for the current
Hmm.
situation that I'm in. Like I kind of prefer that over having everything on you at one given time. You know what I mean? And then you just have like some kind of like wheel that you can pick from, like a
To kind of
weapons
like
wheel or
pre-slot
something.
or like kind of like pre-slot builds and then kind of go that
Yeah,
way.
like how you hit up on the D-pad and it'll change your weapon to whatever those freaking mantis blade things are. You know what I mean? Like I don't want that personally. Like if I have specific things attached to me, that's what I want attached to me. That's what I want to use. I don't want to have everything on me at one time. You know.
It's cuz
But
like I don't know about you but like I get kind of bored with like the OP character RPGs where like
Mhm.
you level something and you're just kind of vibing, and then maybe you level something else, and then suddenly you're all the things, and you're
Mhm.
OP AF because you're all the things.
Yeah,
Fable's a
can't
prime
stand that.
example of that. Of like you, you're gonna end up getting like strength XP and skill XP like kind of passively, and will
Mhm.
XP. Like you get all of those things, and then suddenly you're all of those things, and you're OP as fuck, and
Right.
you're and at least like in a fantasy setting like that kind of works, but in a cyberpunk setting like I don't think that that works very well, because like
Right.
you're just some guy, like you're not some all-powerful entity, like you're just some
Right.
dude living in the city, maybe with a little bit more accessibility to what other people have, but besides that, like you're just a dude. And I feel
Right.
like there should be a cap, like a hard cap of how strong you can get. And then it boils down to your build and your playstyle, how successful you are.
Unicloak says, "Yeah, it only works in something like Infamous, where there's like a supernatural element to it." And I agree
Mm-hmm.
with what you're saying, what he's saying as well. And see, like it kind of works in Fable because you are the destined, like you come from the bloodline of all three skills. You know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
melee, the skill, and the magic skill tree. Like your family derives from like the perfect bloodline. So like it makes sense in that aspect. It wouldn't make sense in something like this. Or for that matter, it didn't make sense in the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, how you could just be good at everything and not just a specific certain amount of traits. Because like I get it that you're the Dovahkiin or whatever, but you shouldn't be this like almighty, all powerful, like I'm a master of conjuration, I'm a master of alteration, illusion magic, and all this other stuff that took people like years of their life to become masters in, and I became a master in it overnight. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like when games do that. Frankly, I'm getting tired of feeling like I'm this like overpowered god figure in the game. You know, I like feeling like I'm just as good as you, but depending on how I think and how I act and put my skills to the test, I can outdo you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're on the same playing field.
I'm down to like curb stomp grunts and stuff,
Hmm.
but like I definitely there needs to be a point where you feel the hard cap, like this is your ceiling
Right.
of your ability to do damage, and just off of raw brain deadness, like not
Hmm.
necessarily like here is your ceiling if you are just pressing buttons and not paying attention, and
Right.
then like, oh damn, you're dying a fuck ton at this point because you're not playing the part well, and
Right.
then now like, okay, you have to learn to play the game.
Right.
Like not necessarily to the difficulty ratio of like Dark Souls, but just like there should be a like Call of Duty, like, oh, I walk into the room and shoot everyone in this fucking room because fuck you, that's why. Like
Right.
there shouldn't be that level of simplicity in a RPG, in my opinion. So I
Mhm.
hope that you feel like you feel like your cap at some point, but also like those situations to me make me super immersed. Like I'm super
Mhm.
immersed at that point because you're like,
Right.
damn, when you think, damn, I cannot do this because I am not this guy. I am this guy, and because I'm this guy, I have to play it a certain way. Kind of like
Right.
Deus Ex did it, like did the same thing where
Mhm.
if you were like hard commit, like you hard commit to stealth or hard commit to whatever, like if we're Neo, it will suck. I agree. Like if we're Neo from the fucking Matrix, the game is gonna suck. It's gonna be a great. I booted this bitch up and played through it once, and now I'm done. Like I can't.
Right.
The replayability will definitely be lost on me at that point. If you're just like I'm kind of over the rag to riches story. I'm not gonna lie. Like those stories kind of have like a OP-ness to them on their
Mhm.
own. So I hope that the narrative is like spun very well. And also, I don't want like a situation where at the end of the day, like you become the kingpin or the king of the city or whatever. Like, I don't want something like that. I want like all right, bitches, I'm going home, you know?
Right. Like, it's done. It's over with. I did the thing. I did the thing, and now I'm gonna go live my life because I'm done with the thing that I did.
Because my,
Yeah.
like, it's like, bro, look, I was just trying to deliver the mail. I delivered the mail. Cool, dude. Now I got to go pick up my next package. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I
Let
want
me go
to,
get the kids for kid
like the
daycare.
the best part about a role playing experience is playing the role, you know?
Right.
Like, oh,
Mhm.
if I'm just got to go do random shit because I'm a courier. Oh, well, I'm not a courier, therefore I don't go have to deliver packages. That sounds like that
Right.
sucks. You know? Like I want a story that once it's done, like you're just like, all right, I'm bouncing out, I'm going back to my house. I don't know, I'm gonna go home and fuck my wife or whatever I do. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't want it to be like and so the hero came and saved the city, and we are all thankful for him. Oh, you the greatest. You know, I don't want something like that. I'm so over that kind
Right.
of stuff. It's kind of like I guess the greatest parallel you can have is like The Witcher, right? Like in The Witcher, like you just go do Witcher shit. And then when you're
Right.
done doing
Do
Witcher
whatever
shit,
you
one,
want.
people still hate you. They
Mhm.
still hate you because you're a freak. And like when you're done, you're just like, all right, gotta go do Witcher shit, you know? Like it's not like
On with the next one.
well, okay, unless you get like one significant other and then you get the DLC and you can have like a retirement vineyard thing and that's sick.
Yeah, that was really awesome. I love the DLC. You're talking about, the Blood and Wine one,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, where Geralt, like, retires,
Yeah, he
essentially.
can retire on like a vineyard.
Yeah, like, he gets his own little, like, vineyard, and then whoever it is that you romance throughout the game can retire there with you and stuff. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's like a soft cap to the story. Like, here I can
Mhm.
kind of spin you an ending, an open ended
Right.
ending, but an ending nonetheless to Geralt's story specifically. And like,
Yeah, I think
I want it to be a my story specifically kind of game. I hope it's not
agreed.
like yeah, we rose up and we beat our oppressors and shit like that. Like, I really hope it's not like that because when when the main character becomes like a messiah or something like that, those I slowly get like pulled out of the experience and like I can still enjoy it, but when I think about it on the back end of things, you're like, oof, that wasn't it, chief. Like that actually wasn't
Yeah.
it, chief. You know?
Yeah. I get it. I totally understand. Um, and going into what you were talking about, like feeling uh, that role that it is that you want. Oh, is that the sweetheart? What's up, Chad? How y'all doing? Also, hello, Kite and Zero. Thank you for coming to the stream. I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out, man. Doing good. So, going off of what you were saying earlier about like I can't do this because I made my character a specific way. Like, let's say that you get into this huge, fucking crazy, explosive area where it's like you can go in like guns blazing, and it feels like the game is pushing you in that direction of guns blazing. But you've been playing a networker the whole game, right? So your idea is like, I'm not gonna go guns blazing. I'm gonna try and rewire the people by using their implants against them or something. Like we saw that in one of the trailers where um, the character like mind jacked another enemy and then killed them using their implants. You know what I mean? Their own implants against them. there was things like that, or like you could fuck with the environment and make the environment kill people, or you could literally walk into an area where there's a mounted turret and rip the rifle off of the freaking turret and slam your hand into it and then merge with the fucking rifle, and now you can shoot that thing. You know what I mean? Like there's things like that that you can do, if that was the kind of character you're playing, or you're some freaking stealth assassin thing or whatever. Like we don't know what you can do, obviously, but like we know that there are certain things that you can do just from the trailer alone. You know, like
Mhm.
if that's the only thing that we're going off of, there are things like that that we know are available to the character depending on how you play the character and how you upgrade the character and the kind of implants that you get for your character. Yeah, I mean, um, and like that all comes down to character customization, you know, and starting from the basic scraps of character customization. Zero says, "I hope it's more diverse in the sense that Deus Ex, though the second game was better in that design." And yeah, we were just talking about Deus Ex, right? Like Deus Ex did it really well in that regard. Like depending on how you leveled your character up, depends on how you should be approaching these situations, right?
Mhm.
Whether you're stealthy, whether you're ranged, whether you're full on melee fighter, like things like that. Now going off of the scraps of character customization, what we have to go off of, right? The character customization for this game is going to be so in depth that you're going to be able to customize your character's genitalia. You can become
Horse Dick
you can
McGee.
you can be whatever you want to be. You know what I'm saying? Um, all I don't know how many genders there are, but any of them. And you can literally like pick on like a dog tag thing if you're like a pansexual, or if you're like bisexual, or your like pronouns or whatever for the character, which is extremely interesting because I am really curious to see how that is implemented throughout the game. So like there's things from that point of view, right? And then once you get outside of that character customization of like customizing what your character is, what kind of gender they are, and so on and so forth. Then you can go into like, how do I want to play this game? Do I want to be like technical? Do I want to be stealthy? Do I want to be ranged? Do I want to be a melee fighter? Because there is melee fighting in the game. There's a full on stamina bar. There's heavy attacks. There's light attacks. There's guarding. There's counters. There's all sorts of stuff. If you wanted to be a full on melee fighter, you can do that. There are like swords and daggers in the game that you can use. There's light machine guns. There's rifles. There are like there's all sorts of things that you can use. There's implant weapons that you can use, like the ones that we saw on his
Yeah,
arm.
like
They're like
bust out. Yeah.
yeah. There's things like that that are available to you. If you don't want to use a weapon at all, and you want to just use your
These hands.
yeah, exactly. You can do that. You don't have to carry a weapon on you if you don't want to. Plus, everything is pick up. Like you can just pick up something. So like if I kill this dude, then I can grab his gun off the ground, and then boom, I have a gun now. You know what I mean? You don't have to have something on you at all times. And I like that aspect. Like I like that. If I don't want to carry a gun on me, I don't have to carry a gun on me. But if I'm in a firefight, all of a sudden I can just pick up a gun, or I
Mhm.
can jack someone's mind depending on uh, the whatever implants I have, and then I can become that character and then turn around and shoot their friend by brain jacking him or something. Um, Zero says human evolution director's cut fixed it, but the OG game really pushed you into certain play styles. Talking about Deus Ex, I believe. Um, I didn't play Deus Ex 2. I played the first one. The first one that was old though. But yeah, so going back into character customization, like you have those types of ways that you yourself will make an impact on your character. Not to mention that the skill tree for the game for your character is fucking massive, right? They've talked about it like nonstop about how big the skill tree is going to be. What do you think about all that?
I think Like big
I mean,
ass. So big ass skill trees, one, can be super overwhelming. Like I'm just gonna throw that out
right.
there. Like it can be too much, and experimenting can like hurt a person like super hard if they don't understand what they're looking at. So I hope it's like user friendly in the sense of like, oh, I fucked up, can I like reset or backtrack, or like is it better to just invest in everything, but then we go back to being like the OP guy. And I hope that's not the case. Like I wonder if there's a finite amount of skill points, cuz like a big ass skill tree doesn't mean as much if you can't fill out the whole tree. So if
Right.
you have a finite amount of skill points to put into the tree, you have to really start to think about how you're playing, which I think that's super sick, but I hope that they definitely like limit how overwhelming that experience can be for players.
Mhm.
Because like I don't know about you, but like there's been a couple games that I've played that like, oh damn, I can I the options are limitless, and like what what do I do? Like what the fuck? Like you're like, I think I like guns. I think maybe, but do I not? Like
Right.
do I want to hard commit to this, or like what?
So would you rather it be like as forgiving as Assassin's Creed Valhalla's skill tree, where you can reset it at any time? Like the Valhalla skill tree was massive too, but and I haven't even completely filled it out. You know what I mean? Like the it's so big that I haven't filled it out, and I've already beaten the game. I put 110 hours into it, but at any point in time, you can just hit triangle or Y and reset all of your skill points for free
Mm-hmm.
and play it however you want to play it. You know what I mean? Like, would you rather it be something like that, or would you rather skill points being permanent unless you bought something from a marketplace in game that would change your skill points?
I don't think I want like a low resource hard reset. I think I
Hmm.
would want to just be able to backtrack maybe one or two steps.
Right,
Cause like hard resets, like you could just, oh, this fight is hard for gun users. I'm just gonna swap. And then like you hard reset, like, all right, now this encounter's over. I'm gonna reset and put it back where I wanted it.
right, because
Like,
then that kind of plays into that whole overpowered thing that we were talking about.
mm-hmm. And just like
Right,
I hope like the path you choose, you're kind of committed, but the path can be flexible.
right. Zero says, I just find the lore for Cyberpunk so awesome. How much do you guys know about the tabletop RPG? In the tabletop game, there is the concept of more augments you put on yourself, the more humanity you lose. And you can go into a blackout rage mode. Wonder if that's in the game. Imagine if hard resets would mean going to get rid of your implants.
That's
That's an
interesting.
interesting
That'd
thing.
be an interesting concept.
That would be really interesting. Now that you mentions it, yeah, that would be super. Ooh, now you have to weigh it out. Like, is it worth getting rid of my implants to reset my skill tree?
Hmm.
You know what I
Like
mean?
would
Or
it?
can I live with what I have and adapt?
And then like if your implants are like super expensive, like do you get like is there what's the sellback value or whatever kind of, or do you just take it out and like have to put them in a box? Um,
Right. Or like, are my skill points compatible with what my implants are at
right.
that point? You know what I mean? Like, can I even use my implants if I don't have the skill points to use them?
Is it like a Dark Souls where it's like a dexterity strength check to use a weapon or whatever?
Yeah.
Or is it more like a you just buy the thing and use the thing? Like I wonder which one it is.
So, to answer your question, Zero, I did play the tabletop game a while ago, like a long time ago, when Cyberpunk was officially announced that it was going to be a video game. So probably, I think it was like 2016 or something like that. But
Cyberpunk got announced 9 years ago.
there you go.
So
I
serious.
I played it a long time ago. Now my experience for it is kind of hollow, but I did get to enjoy the tabletop experience, and I read a little bit of the book, but I didn't like delve into the book because when I was reading the book, I was like, well, I want to play the game, and I want it to kind of just all be like a whole fresh thing. And they said that the tabletop experience is going to be different, or the game is going to be different than the tabletop experience in story. but it's going to have the same key points for the most part. Another thing that I saw is that apparently it's a continuation of the book, and it's not actually like its own standalone thing. And I
Mhm.
don't think that's necessarily true. Actually,
That's
that's just conversation, like like thoughts on it. Like, do you think it's going to be a continuation of the book, or do you think it's a reiteration?
so
Uh,
they could be taking like the same uh they could be taking the same path as like they did with The Witcher, where like The Witcher is actually a sequel of the books. Like
right,
they're tied together, but not really. Like
right,
this is so like if the author decided to write another book, he could be like, oh, you know what? I like the storyline of this video game. Here, sick. Like as
yeah,
opposed to being hard committed to like a book that already exists, and then you have people like, that's not right. This is wrong. Why does this
right,
person look like this? Like, I hope they take like maybe you can butt it up right next to the book, but not follow it.
right,
So like I hope it's like a sequel or maybe like a several years later experience or something like that. Or maybe in a different city completely and they reference the book because that stuff is happening somewhere else. Like I hope it's not straight up like an adaptation because one a lot of like creative freedom but being true to your source material, like you can kind of have the weird backlash from the community. So
right,
I hope that it's its own story, but it can reference or be tied to the original like product.
right. Exactly. And I wanted to pull this up because I wanted to look at something quick. 1 second. Um, I agree with you on literally all of that because I don't want it to be like a direct continuation of uh of like the book itself. I kind of just want it to be its own separate thing. Um, and as far as the book goes, it was the I think it was called like the world of Cyberpunk or some crap like that. I don't remember. I remember looking at it and reading over it a little bit when hold on. Isn't the original book or RPG in 2020? I know it was made in the 80s before even Wi-Fi was a thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's not based in 2077. It's actually based in like this year. And they talk like the creator talks about that from one of the videos that I was watching from a link that you had sent me, Thomas, where he was talking about implementing Cyberpunk 2020 into 2077.
Mm-hmm.
So that was on the. I'll try and source it whenever we post the video for this. I'll try and source it so that way people can go see the link that I'm talking about. I'll also put in the link for everything that we are talking about throughout the podcast today because I have all my links and stuff up right now for when we're done with it. Now, um, now that we're moving away from character customization, I want to talk about weapon
Weapon types.
because that's huge. Yes. So my thought process is this is probably how I'm going to end up playing the game. To be 100% honest with you, I'm probably going to go with the street life start, and I'm probably going to go melee weapons and pistols. That's what
Okay.
I think. Either melee weapons and pistols, or or not prosthetics, but I guess
Augmentations.
technically augmentations and pistols or something like that, you know? Or I might go augmentations and melee weapons, but I don't really, because there are things that you can do. Like in one of the little clips during the trailer, you see like he points his arm out and his hand or like his wrist like pops up and he shoots like little missile things out of his fucking arm. And that's wild. You know what I mean? That's fucking
It
cool.
actually like reminds me of Trigun, like Vash the Stampede's like fake arm, like the machine gun
Yeah,
arm,
yeah,
where it just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, guess what? I
It
got a machine gun right here, bitches.
it reminded me of have you watched The Mandalorian?
A little bit, yeah.
So he's got that little thing on his wrist where like it lights up and then like the little missiles come out and tracks and hits everybody around him and stuff. Like it reminds me of that. That's what it looks like to me personally. So like I'm thinking I might go somewhere in that route of things, and I might play the covert style of stuff where it's like I'm not. going in like guns blazing and stuff. I'm kind of stealthily, like social stealthing my way through stuff. You know what I mean? I think that's if I don't end up doing nomad, I'll probably go street life. I don't want to do corporate. I want to save corporate for like my second playthrough. Uh, so that'll be a thing.
I wonder if the
But
game is gonna have like a karma system, like some kind of like karma or like alignment or whatever.
I think
I
that's what Zero was getting at was like you have too many like augmentations, you lose like humanity of
well,
yourself.
like so that's like have you ever watched Ghost in the Shell?
Yes.
Okay, so like the conversation of like how human are you if you keep changing like every part of your body? Like are you and
Yeah.
then are you even you at that point?
Mhm.
I don't know like exactly lore speaking like what having too many augments like why would that make you rage? Probably something about like overloading your brain or frying your bullshit or whatever. But
Mhm.
because I
I
actually like this is a point that I wanted to make when we were talking about like customizing your genitals, which is
mhm.
this is a weird like segue, but hear me out. Like probably the reason why you can even do that is because it doesn't matter because these people can literally like be whoever they want.
Yeah, apparently you
Like
can change your gender like that throughout
like
the game.
like damn, can I like detach my dick and like use it like a baseball bat? Like but
What
like
the f
it processes like a conversation of because because I can change every part of myself. What and who am I? Like,
Mhm.
am I still a person if I can just like I'm not oh yeah, like think about this. Think about if your wife could literally like just you know what? I don't really like my face. New face. Like that. And like, oh, do you like this one? I'm gonna take this one for a test drive.
He's got hit babies today.
Hmm. Uh, um, like, are you still you? Like when you like, when you meet someone like, and they can change themselves that quickly. Are they still that person? Are they a different person when they change that much? Like, say, and then it's like do you have to like work out to like get buff or can you just buy that? And then like, so where's like the effort put into body changing and all sorts of
I
other
didn't even
shit?
think about that. I
Like,
didn't even fucking think
like
about
this.
that.
So like, it's like a weird, if you, and I'm not trying to like delve super deep into like social commentary or whatever, but like, it's a huge thought process of if you can be whatever, there is, there should, there is one like humans love to oppress other humans, period. Like we love to
Mhm.
do that. I don't know why, but we love to do that shit. And like if you can change everything about yourself to try to prevent being oppressed, like would you still be oppressed and why? Probably because you're too augmented or whatever.
Right.
But that's the whole cuz like I know the Deus story kind of hints at that the what was that? The Human Revolution game, or not Human Revolution, the robot game that came out on PlayStation. What was that one called?
You talking about, Detroit Become Human?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that kind of
That was
like talked about it. Like because it creates like this weird dynamic of how human are you? What defines a person?
mhm.
Like, uh, an analogy like my wife like uses is when you love someone or when you love their soul, their body can change, but the soul is the same. So
Right.
like how much the person's exterior changes to her is irrelevant to who they are. As
Right.
opposed to like some people are like if their self is identified by like their body, like their race, their religion, like race, culture, whatever, they typically they'll wear it like on themselves. Like, we've all seen like cultural tattoos and stuff like that. But like what if you could just take it off? Like, what if you could just change your ethnicity? What if you could just. So then, like, is that still a part of you? Like, is that still like like a thing that you experience, like think about changing your genders. Like what's the definition of sexuality like in this like space? Like
It doesn't exist.
is it just whatever? Like and then it's like, okay, well if that doesn't matter, like I wonder how they incorporate that. Like do they incorporate that into the story at all? Like it's a really like mind-blowing thing to think about, like if you could change every part of you, how are you special and why?
Mhm.
And then you're just like, well, I could be whoever I want to. Like, yeah, but you're that's the same as everybody else. Like and then it all boils down to like means, like how much money do you have? Can you afford these upgrades? Can you afford that stuff? Do they try to like is it possible to buy a faulty upgrade? Like, oh, I'm gonna buy this thing that like, hell yeah, this makes me run super fast, and then like you're using it, you're like, yeah, I'm running from the fucking like the cops or the bad dudes or whatever, and then suddenly shit don't work,
Right.
and then
And
like
then your fucking life
and then you're
just give out
fucked.
on
Yeah, or like you can't run anymore, and like you're hobbling your ass. It's just, yo, the concept of cyberpunk to me is always like sick.
Mhm.
Um, Probably because when I was growing up, like I had a crush on the Major, like in Ghost in the Shell, which
Yeah, absolutely. Big
which
same. Big
that
same.
and you know that anime like is a heavy reference on like what is a person, what is sexuality, what is culture, like what is all of these things when you can change them at the drop of a hat. Like what does
Right.
that stuff matter at the end of the day? What defines a person if you can change everything on the outside and even the inside of a person? Like cyberpunk like lore and like aesthetic and stuff like play super hard into that, and I'm just so that's what I'm so stoked about.
Something that's interesting to me is the fact of like, okay, so apparently you can change your gender at any given point throughout the game, right? And like, or what you look like at any given point throughout the game. So if like you look like a guy, right? Like you orient yourself as a guy, and then the next day you're a girl. How does everybody like character wise? How do they know it's you? You know what I'm saying? Like that
Mhm.
seems like just going into like too much thinking here, but like I'm gonna delve into that pot for a second. But like, how do they know it's you? You know what I mean?
How would stealth sections work if you could just be a different person?
Yeah. Like okay, so let's say for instance, they're on the lookout for a specific person that looks this way. But then I go to the cosmetic store and fucking change my face into a whole ass different person.
Yo, so what about it? What if it's like the spray paint shops in Grand Theft Auto? Like, damn, I'm gonna drop my wanted level here. New face, got it, taken care of.
But see, like, while that's a very interesting thing, I also think that's a game breaking mechanic.
That's busted.
You know, like that would be super busted because then I could go change my face and I could just walk into a place and they could think I'm whoever works there. You know what I'm saying? Um. So Zero says you can even have a female body with a male voice or vice versa. And that is true. I did see that. And then he said, "I'm sure you are rigged with things that identify you, like DNA scanners, etc." Yeah, I would imagine that that's kind of a thing.
I would also imagine that there's like some kind of weird black market to kind of like fuck with that
To
stuff too.
yeah, wipe it and stuff. Yeah,
I'm super
like
curious. I'm super curious. On one hand, I'm super stoked for like the setting and the aesthetic of cyberpunk, but also like I'm super curious how you implement all that stuff into a game because um another like I kind of like I keep referencing like Ghost in the Shell, but like the Laughing Man where like you
yes,
couldn't see his face,
mhm,
like he did something that like you could not see his face. You just saw the little Laughing Man logo whenever you looked at him, but like you could
right.
actually never see him. I wonder if we're gonna like come across something that's like that in Cyberpunk,
Mhm.
where like someone's like scrub themselves clean of like untraceable, untrackable, whatever, or they're just perceived as the wrong person all the time. Like I
Right.
wonder if that's possible.
And see, like, I could see that coming into play if you pick the, like, agent path line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, as an agent, you are tasked with going and finding this person who has, like who is running, like, some kind of black market deal thing going on where he's scrubbing people's identities. So like when you look at him on a camera, you can't see their face; it's all like blurred out and stuff, right? Because they have an identity thing that like blurs out their face to people's uh eyes or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Or like cameras can't pick up on their digital face and so on and so forth. Like something along those lines. I can imagine that being at the like agent life pathway, which would be really interesting. Zero says, so I wanted to ask you, what life path will you be doing during your playthrough? So I kind of answered this already, so I kind of want to give this one to you first, and then I'll say it I'll say it again afterward.
So, no cap. I'm just gonna do whatever you don't like, because the thing is it makes a much more if we make
Our own,
sure that we, yeah, right, we have our own perspective, and it makes the conversation like dynamically mad different. Because you're like, yeah,
right,
I came to this crux point, because there's probably like crux points in the story where like because they all have to align somehow. Like if you saw the E3 footage from like last year, I think it was, like there's a scene where, like, there's like a meeting in an alley, and they're like brokering some kind of bullshit, and then that goes tits up, and everyone starts shooting at everybody. Like, I wonder if you can be like, your story, you're the guy buying the item, and then on a different perspective, I'm the guy selling the item, and then the third style is I'm the guy fucking shit up. Like, I wonder if
right.
that's possible.
I think that would be amazing, honestly. That right there would be good replayability as far as like different lifestyles that you pick from,
Because
right?
even though you know how that situation like plays out, narratively speaking, the perspective of it could be super interesting.
Right. Now, I think I'm gonna be somewhat of a hacker. You know what I mean? Like I said earlier, I think I want to do like social uh, blending or social stealth, essentially,
Mhm.
right? Where like I'm not carrying like guns galore on me. I'm not super amped up where you can like look at me and you can tell I'm some fucking jacked muscle head or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I want to play a character that kind of just looks normal-ish. You know, like obviously I've got stuff with me, but as normal as Cyberpunk is. Um, and then I want to do like social jacking, where like I mind jack people, or like I can fuck with programs and stuff, or fuck with your augments and so on. Those are things that I'm interested in. I'm probably gonna end up doing the street life path, or actually, I think street life path would be much more befitting towards you, and the playstyle that I'm doing would probably be much more corporate. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna do something like that, I feel like corporate would definitely be. I don't know how you wanna play the game, but, like, I've already kinda thought about how I wanna play it, and that's kind of the play style that I wanna go.
So one of the things that I want to do is I want to literally like eat as many augments as possible.
Yeah, you wanna
I
just
want to not be a person anymore.
you just
Like
wanna be super augmented?
and like, one, I want to know what that experience is like, and also like, it would a traditional human like shit on you? Like, is
Right,
there like a ceiling to how many like augments you get before people are like, man, what the fuck? You have a
right.
problem. Like, and stuff like that. Like, I'm just super curious on like how that plays out and how that feels.
I feel
Um,
like that's kind of the same aesthetic of like people who wanna go get tattoos and they get tatted from, like, the top of their skull all the way down to their tiptoes, you know what I mean?
mhm.
Like, it's kinda like that same kind of thing where it's like, "Dude, you are off the fucking rails." But, like, people who live normally get, like, 1 tattoo or 2 tattoos every now and like, on their body or something, you know what I mean? But then there's those people that are like, "I need more, I need more, I need more, I need more." It's the same kinda thing there with, like, the prosthetic or the augment.
Like,
I can't
I
remember.
want to see what it's like to overindulge in this, and does it change your experience?
Yeah. Um, Zero says, like in the beginning origin story, you can be a nomad, street kid, or corporate. What will you choose? Yeah, I think I'm probably go either street life or corporate for my first playthrough. And depending on which one I go will depend on what I end up doing for my second playthrough. Shads, thank you so much for the 20-bit shads. I appreciate it. I am lurking. Totally okay, man. All lurkers are accepted. Totally alright. Now, Going off of that, I feel like my type of playstyle that I'm going for would work better as like a corporate play.
I'm
You know what
assuming,
I mean?
and I'm assuming corpos like start with more capital up front.
So apparently, so corporate, you work for one of the big fucking estates, right?
Mhm.
Like you work for one of the massive corporations in the game. You start off with like a fucking kick-ass suite. You've got a nice car, stuff like that. Uh, but you obviously like through that experience, you're gonna have different. You're,
I
you're gonna have different things all the way through. From what they were saying, like if you pick corporate, like you're not
mm.
gonna have the same kind of experience as like if you pick street life.
I wonder if it's going to be a giant case of like you start the corporate one and it's like, here's all this nice shit. You have access to all this shit, but we own you.
Yeah.
Like none of this is yours. So you would think working corpo, like you would have money, but maybe you don't because the corporation like literally owns everything about you. Like, wouldn't it be wild if like you started corporate and they're like, hey, put this mod in your face. And you're like, I don't want to. They're like, we own you. Put it in your
Right.
face. Like, I wonder if that would be oh my,
That'd be fucking
y'all,
crazy.
I actually like rehype myself every time I'm like, yo, wait. Cause like if you look at like the timeline and stuff for this, like this is like neo-capitalism. Like it's like capitalism to like the utmost extreme. Like corporations own everything. It's on some fucking Wall-E shit.
Right.
Like the survival of this city depends on if I decide that we're gonna pay our bills this month. Like, or I'm gonna make sure that you're a person.
Right.
And it's just this so wild. Like can they just like randomly turn your shit off? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's what I was
like,
saying was
oh
like
man,
there's
like damn, damn, you know what, you want to disobey my orders? Like, we're gonna make it so you can't walk. Oh, you can't breathe for 60 seconds? Like, here, you can just hold that? Like, oh, you know what? Damn, wouldn't it be crazy if like your dick just fell off? Like it's just it's one of those like crazy concepts of like if a corporation owns a person and you can literally piecemeal out that person, like would they have direct control of that? Or like do they respect your free will enough? Or like can these things be remotely engaged and disengaged? Like it's one of those like the conspiracy theorist in me is like man, got me fucked up, you know?
Um, so Zero also said like the scary part is they can probably disable your implants if you don't like what they say or do, right? So one of the things that I was thinking of is like let's say you start off with the corporate thing, right? And then you disagree with something that they are saying. Like you come to a pivotal moment where it's like we need you to go do this and you're like, "No, fuck that. I'm not going to go do that." Are they going to then just beat the shit out of you, jack all of your implants, and then throw you to the side, and then boom, the switch flips, and now you're doing the street life playthrough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what's gonna happen if you do something like that? Or like if I just keep agreeing with everything they say, am I gonna stay in like the high up society and I'm gonna take part in destroying everything
And dirty
below us?
dealings, like
Like that's massive. Like having those choices are what makes this game like so promising, you know.
mhm.
And they did say that if you aren't playing this on the new consoles or on PC, you're not going to be able to experience the game to its fullest, and that's because the old consoles cannot run the like everything that this game can do, like the new consoles can. So they have to limit the things that they can do, like when we were talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? Like
Mhm.
Valhalla is not doing everything that it can do on a PS4 that it could do on a PS5,
Right.
right? Which causes the game to crash because they have to downplay the game in order for your console to be able to run it, right? But your console can't run it.
Mhm.
It's the same kind of thing with Cyberpunk. If you're not playing it on the new consoles or PC, you're not going to be able to experience it as fully as you should be able to in comparison to the new consoles.
So one of the
Um,
things I did read is they said it was fine. Like if you start your experience on an older gen console, like you will be like, this is fine. Um, like aesthetically and everything, but
mhm,
probably like the next gen upgrade is gonna be like super huge. Like it's gonna feel super
yeah.
sick.
And apparently, they're gonna be putting out free like updates, free DLC, and stuff like that for the game as well, which is super, super fucking
And
awesome. Like,
I know on Xbox it does have smart delivery, so if you start it on a like a Xbox One X and then get a Series X, like it will come with you.
right. Same with PlayStation. Like you can upgrade it to the next one and carry your data over. Um, which I'm really sad that I didn't get the new console. I really wanted to get the new console because I really wanted to play this on the new system, but it looks like it's coming out next month in December. So I might be able to swing that depending on if the BX here on base will have the consoles. Because if they do, then I'm getting it,
Mhm.
and I'm getting it for that specific. I'm getting it for the PS5. You know. Um, however, uh, going on, Zero says more major upgrades with ray tracing will come in 2021 for Witcher and Cyberpunk for the new consoles. You know, so that's a huge impact on how you're going to be able to experience the game, how the game is going to look and feel in your hands. Um. So anyway, going back on track, how do you think you're going to end up playing this game? Judging by what I've said so far, how do you think you're going to end up playing it?
So like it I guess like I hope there's like a little like tutorial sequence where like it lets you kind of like do a little bit of everything.
Mm,
Cause like you know, I did this with Outer Worlds. Like I told myself I was gonna be a melee fighter. Like I told myself that, and then like the melee weapons like took a long time to get like a really decent one. So like then I was like, well, I have to use this gun because it just has overall higher DPS. And then suddenly I'm a gun dude, you know? But like
right.
my play style evolves as I play and learn the mechanics. Like I might go in with an idea. I do this every time with fucking Skyrim. Every time. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to be an archer this time. I'm hard committed to being an archer thief." I end up as a battle mage every
Yep, all
time.
the time, every
That's
fucking
like my
time.
default setting. And it's
Yeah.
like, "Damn, dude. Like it's trash." So like
It's like it it's like you're when you're playing Skyrim, it's like you go in, you want to be that archer and anything, and then all of a sudden you start getting your ass kicked, right? It's like, oh man, it would be so much easier if I had something I could do damage with and heal myself at the same time, or like throw a fireball at something. I feel that. I totally get it.
so but I'm down to like play super. I want to play like super aggro. Like
Hmm.
I'm not a I can be a stealthy guy, but like I want to kick down the door and fuck shit up. I want to be
Yeah.
some chipped out, roid raging, like gunslinging motherfucker. Like I want to be out
Right.
here.
Okay. They did say like if you enhance your character's like strength attributes and stuff like that, like you can straight up like rip a fucking door off the hinges. Or like I was saying earlier, like you can rip a freaking mounted turret off of its mount and use it as a weapon, you know? Like
I just
there are
wanna I
augments and
wanna
stuff
be
like
able
that you
to hit a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
can
That's what
you're
I
gonna
want
pick
to do.
somebody up and beat them to death with their friend. I actually did that in a D campaign that I played a while back. Well, I didn't do it. A buddy of mine did. They like literally picked a goblin up and beat another goblin to death with their goblin companion, and then everybody took like all the enemies took negatives to the rolls because they were terrified because this fucking massive beast of a man is beating the hell out of them with their own friend because he was that strong. So I mean, like I feel like it would totally be possible, especially with the possibilities of this game. And everybody keeps complaining about the fact that it keeps getting pushed back and keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. You know, think about The Witcher 3, right? The Witcher 3 is probably one of the best RPG games that we've gotten in a very long fucking time. You know, that game got pushed back so much. And not and like yeah, when it came out, like it still had its bugs, it still had a day one patch, but look at all the work they put into that game. Like, even though they had a day one patch and still had its bugs, that game was absolutely breathtaking from the moment you picked it up when it was released. When it came out, it was great. It's still good today. So I'm not upset about the fact they keep pushing this game back. Like, if they feel like it's incomplete or they feel like they want to work on something a little bit more, like, by all means, like, release it as when you think it's ready to be released. Release that motherfucker. Just don't leave it in development hell. Don't keep it there. You know,
As long
like
as the working conditions on it are solid, like I agree. Like as long as the
yeah,
people they're not crunching them till they want to brain themselves, like I'm down.
yeah. Um, Unit Cloak says, I want to play that game like a gunslinger, moving quick and having high fire rate. Just taking huge advantage of the field by being able to adapt to an environment and use it as my strength. Now that I can agree with. That sounds fucking badass. I like if you can go in like dual wielding fucking like pistols or like you've got like two fucking submachine guns in your hand, you're just fucking ripping people to shreds and like taking this guy and throwing him across the fucking room and stuff like that sounds fucking awesome. I'm totally down for that kind of gameplay as well. But like let's say you're doing that and then the next mission you're like, you know what, I kind of want to go in, stealthily kill this guy, try and get through it as stealthy as possible, get to this point, jack into the mainframe, destroy people by using their prosthetics against them or whatever. Like, by all means, I feel like I should be able to do that. You know? Um. So yeah, I'm totally down for this. I love the concept of the game. They have so many things as possible, and they haven't even touched on almost like 95% of what the game has in store for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I'm really curious about the stats of the game. So, like, Unicloak says, best part about using quick play styles is that they can be streamlined to stealth, which I love. Which is true. That is a true thing. Look at Dishonored, right? Like the Dishonored can be played in the most streamlined, aggro or aggressive way possible, and it's still like a stealth shot at it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But so the stats in the game have me very uh interested, right? So you have your charisma stat, you have your strength stat, you have all your base regular stats that you would find in any RPG, but then you have like a cool stat. The hell is that?
So
What is a
maybe
cool stat?
so one, maybe it's like how sick as fuck are you? Like
Are you a cool guy?
but also maybe it's like cool, like keeping your cool, like level headedness. Um like maybe that's it, like I have maybe it's like your like essentially like a fashion rating and it doesn't really do anything.
Hmm.
Or maybe it's like I don't know, maybe that was like a temperature gauge. Like I don't fucking
Or maybe it's like a like you were saying, like an appeal rating, like your overall appeal.
mm-hmm.
You know, Shad says, I will also say that this game will be great, most likely, but it's important to not overhype yourself. And I agree. Now, as part of the whole situation as being a podcaster, like, it's kind of hard not to overhype yourself when you're like constantly bouncing off different ideas and thoughts on
So
something, and then
like
like you're always just like building up the hype.
I'm hype for like the true cyberpunkness of it. The
Hmm.
game itself, like I'm hyped for the world. I'm not hyped for the game, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like if
Right.
the world is embellished enough, like I'm here for this. If
Mhm.
if the story kind of lacks or maybe gameplay kind of lacks in certain categories, like that's okay with me. But like I am beyond hype
Right.
for like the world and the ramifications of like body augmentation and shit like that. Like I try to have to I'm at the point where I'm trying to stop going back into that rant because I've gone back into it like 3 times. Like because it's so sick, like conceptually speaking. Because like
um,
I'm super down like behind the psychology of identity and just like
mhm.
body augmentation like super feeds into that. I'm just like
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it.
Zero says, "I feel the cool stat will be like how cool are you under pressure, or maybe how composed you are and can keep your." And then Unicloak says, "At the end of the day, just step back and say that it's possible, but not required to make a great game. It just needs some of these things that structure it well." Agreed. While we're sitting here and we're talking about like really things that we are excited for and everything, we have to keep in mind that not everything is set in stone, and we can't be upset about it once we pick the game up. Now, like as far as my notes and stuff goes, this is all stuff that they themselves have talked about or shown
Mhm.
off or said. One thing that I'm really excited about is the fact that, or not really excited about, but really happy to see is the fact that the armor in the game is not just armor, right? Like you're not some fucking mech'd out dude who's walking around in like steel plating and shit like that, like the clothing that you can buy from stores and stuff is what gives you your armor and your armor stats and characteristics and boosts and stuff like that in game, right? So like if you buy this jacket, you get like a street cred up and you get like 20% armor to melee weapons crap, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or like if you buy this jacket, you get a agent boost, right? Towards corporation, like a corporate boost or something, you know. Uh, but you have like a higher stealth or something like that, like that's what the armor kind of looks like it's going to be in the game. It's not like you're just gonna be walking around with like this crazy fucking tin can suit on, and I'm really happy to see that. Like, I'm happy that that be a thing, and it just makes sense
Mhm.
for the kind of game that it is going to be. Now, I'm assuming that there's probably going to be an augment to like for your skin to be harder or something like that. Like your coating on your skin is gonna like you could probably get it to be more metallic or something. You know what I mean? Uniqlo says, to be honest, clothes infused with tech should be explored more in cyberpunk settings as well. Interfacing with the human body to enable extra features. That's a thing. That is a thing. That is a real thing. When I was watching the little video for it explaining the armors and stuff, like the clothing you wear, like it's connected to you. Like depending on what you put on, like it enhances certain abilities from you because of the stuff that is built and put onto it and connects to the skin. That's why it enhances a certain ability. So they explain why those things happen the way that they do, which is really cool. What say you, Thomas? What do you think about this whole thing? I love the armor clothing.
No, that's sick. And aesthetically speaking, that's super sick. Like, I would hate to have like traditional armor in this situation. Like,
Hmm.
especially like with the cyberpunk, like sci-fi, super futuristic kind of looking setting. Traditional armor would look kind of lame, like
Yeah.
comparatively speaking, because everything's like sleek and stylish and everything's so cool. And then suddenly it's like, yeah, here's a chest plate. Like, yep, here you go. Or here's even think about like a bulletproof vest. Like even that looks kind of like when bitch I could turn my arm into a machine gun. Yeah, sure, that bulletproof vest is really gonna save you. Like,
Right.
you know, it
Hmm.
would be more about like body to body, like actual augmentations to like your flesh rather than like your clothes. And clothes would just like either enhance or change stuff or like regulate stuff as opposed to like actually change the features of yourself.
Hmm.
So I'm super looking forward to that kind of stuff.
So one thing that I was looking at, because I was delving in on Reddit about some game mechanics that they would love to see come to the game, for like a stealth character, for instance, something that hasn't been explored since Metal Gear Solid 4, right? And that's the ability uh, to coat yourself in whatever it is that you're pressed. So I don't know if you remember, but in Metal Gear Solid 4, the sneak suit that Snake wore, like he could put his hand against the wall, and then like the underpart would like take a picture of what it's pressed up against, and then it would reflect it onto the top of the suit. So that he would look like his arm looks like it's part of the wall, essentially. You know what I mean?
So
And
like essentially like invisibility, like basically.
essentially, yeah, pretty much. But it's not a permanent thing, right? So it's like a chameleon. So like if you were pressed up against this and you became this and you started walking around and your body doesn't take the picture of like what you're pressed up against after that, like you just look like that. Like that's the color's tone or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
don't like you're not like invisible where like your body is like see through essentially. Like you only look like whatever it is that you just reflected onto or refracted onto, whatever. Like that sounds pretty cool to me. I don't think that it should be implemented, but that's a fucking awesome mechanic. Personally, I think that would be great in any other kind of stealth game, but I don't think that would work well in this kind of thing.
Mm.
Personally, I just think that doesn't. I don't see the point in it. You know what I mean?
I just think that like true invisibility stealth is like dumb. Like that's a dumb
Yeah.
mechanic. Like I don't enjoy it. I enjoy okay. It's a dumb mechanic for sneaking. I think it's super sick for hiding. And hiding and sneaking are not the same thing. Because
They're
like
not.
we've all played like the hide and seek games like Outlast and stuff like that where like the objective is to hide. But we've also like in a sneak sense, like I should just be stealthy, and if I can just be invisible, that's fucking dumb. That's literally I
Right.
can press a button and I'm taking skill out of the equation because I can just be
Right.
invisible. Like even if you're spec to stealth, like it should be like muffled footsteps and maybe like agility and stuff like that. Like it's about hiding and placing your body or doing things quietly rather than here is button to go. You can't.
No, you can't see.
Ooga booga, you can't see me. Like, I just think that's super boring.
Unit Cloak says a ballistic vest could look nice aesthetically with a coat like the one seen on most of Cyberpunk 2077 art. And then he said, actually, doesn't Keanu's character wear a ballistic vest? And yes, he does. He does wear a ballistic vest on. But I mean, like, I think it's fine. Like aesthetically, it's fine.
That's stylistic opinion. Like I'm more talking about like the function of the body armor rather than the aesthetics of the body armor.
Yeah, exactly. Unicloak says Halo's active camo is a good balance where it's for small periods where it assists with sneaking through battlefields, but it's not like a permanent thing.
Yeah, like
right?
if you hunker down, you're invisible. But if you move, it's kind of more like a shimmer.
Yeah.
Because like,
but see, like,
I got to the point where I could spot your active camo a mile away, you bitch boy.
I'm sniping you through the glass, boy. But like in Metal Gear Solid Guns of the Patriots, I think it worked for that because that game is a sneak game. Like it's a stealth sneaking game, right? Like it works in that kind of like aspect. But I don't think it necessarily works for something like, you know, like I don't see how it would fit into the game. Like I would see that it could be possible in the world, but I don't see how it would fit into the actual gameplay of it.
Kind of like touching back to a point that we made earlier, like you are more likely to have something that either jams another person augments or fucks with them to a point where they can't see you. So it's like fake invisibility. Like I could still see me, and technically you could still see me if you were a person, but you're not. And because you're not a person, like you can't see me.
Because you have like eye augments, you can't see me.
But if you didn't have eye augments, you could see me.
Right. So let's see. What's our next point here? I mean, we're kind of blowing through everything here that I wrote out for like points and bullets that I wanted to conversate about. But let's see. So, what weapons do you think you're gonna be? Did I already touch on this?
Yeah, like a little bit. Like, I'm gonna be like adaptive playstyle. I guess it's like it goes hand in hand, right? Like, if the melee weapons feel super sick, like I'm down to be a melee fighter, but like they have to feel really good. They cannot like because who brings a knife to a gunfight?
Right.
Like,
can I cut fucking bullets out of the air?
Yo, could I get augmented to the point where I could just be fucking riding from a Metal Gear? Like, that'd be sick. Oh my god, that'd be sick.
That'd be fucking insane, right?
Yo, I love Revengeance. Like, I'm a super nerd. I loved Revengeance because of how over the top it was. But like, I just that would be sick. Let me get like a
like
fucking vibrating sword that can like cut you at the molecular level. Like, oh, sick.
like I know there's an augment in the game where you can see bullet trajectory, right? And when you activate it, like you can point your gun at a wall and see where it's gonna hit and bounce, right? So like if you have somebody who's sitting behind a box, if I shoot it right here, I can see the trajectory it's gonna bounce and hit this guy. You know what I mean? Like I know that's a thing. So with that working both ways, like if I activate it and they're shooting at me, am I going to be able to see the lines, the
The prediction
projected?
lines, like kind
Yeah,
of
the
like
prediction of it.
what was it? Sword Art second season when they went in a gun go.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Am I going to be able to see those prediction lines? Can I dance around those bullets and get really close to you with my melee weapon? Like, is that a thing that is possible? Like, these are all possibilities that
Can I
that we're
have like
saying,
an
and then
auto reflex button to just? Because I mean, theoretically speaking, like it's feasible to have an augment that like I can detect a bullet within X radius of myself and automatically like deflect it because I've got superhuman reflexes.
right.
Like it's feasible.
Zero says, but something just need to be there for gameplay aspects, like the obvious green lights on Sam Fisher's Splinter Cell. The player can see to orient themselves in the dark, but others can't see. I agree. Like there are certain things that you need on your character to make sure that you can like the player understands what's happening. But thankfully, it's in first person. You don't really need to orient yourself in the dark when you
Hmm.
can see through your own eyes. Unicloak says, I almost forgot, but when you said someone changing themselves about how someone could recognize that, I'd assume every person is chipped or given a registry of their augments at some point to mark their identity, and the optical augments could tell who you are by your unique identity. It also makes sense why others can't see the green lights because night vision uses IR, so it's also like a touch of reality. But yeah,
I
so
wonder.
like
I wonder if they're going to minority report our asses.
what do
Like
you mean?
like when Tom Cruise got his eyes taken out.
Uh-huh.
Like he literally like got him taken out and got new eyes.
Mhm.
And he like had to go get him into the building. He had his eyes in fucking like a Ziploc bag, and they just like, here, I'm getting in the building now. Like I think because there's got like for a market that like identifies you, there's got to be a black market that gets rid of that. I mean,
Right.
that's what the black market is like today you can buy an illegal ass firearm on the black market just because and like no one knows where it came from. Like there's got to be some way to like fight against it because
Mhm.
and I hope that that's like a faction in the game or something that you can kind of like experiment with. Um because that to me that's super sick because if you could like bog yourself like if you bog yourself down with augments and then like suddenly it's like everyone could just spot you 100 feet away, like that's no fun. But
Right.
like if you can like somehow like change who you are because there's a market out there that maybe it's hard to get to or maybe it's really expensive, but they're just like yeah, we're just you're a different person now. They gave us
Mm.
we just gave you a different social security number. Boom, done. Like, like
Yeah.
something similar to that because if every piece of you can be changed like individually, like theoretically speaking, it's possible. And I think that that would be a cool mechanic, or at least like for narrative purposes, like you got to go find a guy, and they're like, yeah, but we have no idea where the fuck he is because he's changed literally everything. We just know that this thing is like this code or whatever is in his brain. Like that's all we
Right.
know, but we don't know what he looks like or how to identify him anymore.
Right.
So like you would have to like
Um
super RP a situation to get him to like this. Oh, so like when's your birthday or something, or when's this person's wife's birthday or some shit, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's like this day, da da da. Like, haha, it's that guy. Him.
like you would use like you would use like an admin password thing to get into your computer essentially.
No, like
Like something
to
along
get
that.
like a code from him, and like you would have to
Right.
identify him with traits that are like not not conventional,
Mhm.
kind of like a Where's Waldo, but like with information.
Right.
I think that'd be super sick. Oh,
Unicloak
cyberpunk
says
stuff
I
is awesome.
see Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Uniqlo says, I think it would be as simple as plugging yourself in and changing the registry with a program that was obtained illicitly through legal registry, kind of like how some people have police laptops and have illicit access.
Or maybe like plot twist, the corporation like owns all of it, and even
Hmm.
they own the black market too. So they're like, oh, even if you think you don't know, if you think we don't know who you are, we do. It's fine.
We know.
You
Yeah.
can get fucked, nerd.
Fuck nerd. um Now I'll be honest, like this whole game kinda has a feeling of Final Fantasy VII,
Really?
if that makes.
You think
Yeah,
so?
in my opinion, I think it does kind of have a feeling of Final Fantasy VII. I mean, look at it. Like, look at the plot of the game. Look at the world that it takes. Not plot, but the world that it takes place in. Right? Like in Final Fantasy VII, you have the higher up corporation that is controlling everything, and the people below are just getting shit on. Right? It's the same thing in Cyberpunk. Like you have this high up organization that controls everything that goes on in the city, and everyone below them is getting shit on. Like bad.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's being forced to do these things that they don't want to do. And meanwhile, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer or staying poor or dying. Right? It's the same situation that's going on in Final Fantasy VII. The world kind of looks the same to me too, as well. They just have more money to afford neon lights in Cyberpunk versus.
Um, I think it looks like typical like utopian dystopian stuff. Like in the
Mm,
city, you are safe. In the city, you are taken care of. Your needs are met. Your needs are met.
right.
Words. Like here, you obey or you die.
Right.
And I think that like that's super interesting. I wonder like how impoverished like the general population is. Like how many like live actually in poverty. That'd be kind of weird. Because like,
Mhm.
why would I live in the city if it sucks dick to live here? Oh, because there's water here.
Right.
Like, yeah, but like, if it's not free or cheap, like that's trash. And then
Right.
if you're augmented, do you need water? Like,
You
bro,
are going so in depth with this, man. I love it.
like,
I love how in depth you're getting
it's
with
just
this.
like, do you need to, do you need water? Do you need to breathe? Like, how just do they replace your organs? Like, yo, I got so many questions. I just want to know. I want to know, or I want a divorce.
What the fuck?
It's a reference to a comedy skit. Like everyone caught me.
Got you. Unicloak says, "Welcome to City 17." Unicloak also says that would be scary but interesting because I would actually see a conglomerate working to push a black market to information control. Frog skin augment where you can water through atmosphere. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I don't see what the point would be if to need water if you have like a coolant system on the inside of your. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my god, Thomas!
There's so many questions I have. I want to know.
I'm super excited for this game, man. Talking about the game, talking about the single player DLC, right? So apparently, the single player DLC they're going to be releasing free single player DLC that will help expand the world, put new missions into the game, and add more to the story of the game. And then they obviously will have paid for single player DLC. Now, this isn't a surprise to me personally. I don't know about you. I definitely surprised you either. But I mean, when you think about the DLC that CD Projekt Red has put out in the past, like The Witcher 3 DLC, that was like playing a whole new fucking game.
Mm.
And if they do the same thing with Cyberpunk, I will just.
Like I'm chilling. I'm straight chilling.
I don't know what to do, man.
Mhm.
Like, for God's sakes, CD Projekt Red almost got Game of the Year off of a DLC. The DLC itself almost got Game of the Year.
Yeah, dead ass.
The DLC, not even the full game, but the DLC itself. Blood and Wine almost got Game of the Year on its own, dude. Like, that's how you make DLC right there, and that was totally okay. I was down to pay $39.99 for that DLC when it came out, you know? But,
I got the gold edition, so
oh, well, fuck you. Anyway, like, like, so I'm super excited that, like, that just shows how much promise there is with this kind of game,
hmm
you know? Um, Now something that really blew my mind was the fact that they already have said that we are getting multiplayer DLC.
did they? But they didn't list what kind, right?
Yeah, but they confirmed that we're getting multiplayer DLC.
I wonder if it's gonna be like. I pray they don't do an online like GTA Online and Red Dead Online and stuff. Like
Mhm.
I'm not here for that.
I would be okay if it was like a heist thing, right? Like you and your comrades have to go into some kind of like corporate building or some kind of thug hideout or something like that, and you have to get in, you have to download like information, or you have to take out a target, or you have to do something along those lines together. You know
hmm
what I mean?
Like some kind of like co-op experience, like some kind of PVE co-op experience.
Yeah, exactly. Unicloak says water is used for chemical breakdown in your body, so you do need it because of hydrogen in
But
water.
what if you
Yes,
have no physical parts left?
that's
Like
what
what
I'm
if you're just
saying.
a
Like,
whole robot?
and then you can like maintain your body temperature as well, so you don't need to sweat with coolant. Like if you just have like a coolant system inside your body, you maintain your
Cuz they
temperature.
actually like
Coolant.
covered that point in like Ghost in the Shell actually. They're like, "Yeah, I don't need
Yeah,
to sleep, really. Like everything's fake.
yeah.
I go through the motions."
Um. So yeah, there's the free multiplayer DLC that they're going to be putting out. Uh, Chat says, but what makes you you?
That's what I've been asking this whole time. Dead ass. I went on
Oh.
like 3 20-minute rants about that. Like what
Dude,
defines a human?
I feel like Detroit Become Human really touched on that a lot. That was a really good game when it comes down to that. Like, what defines you as a human being? Shad says the soul, the memories?
Could you
Question
get
mark.
so can you get like someone's memories implanted in you?
So what you can do is you can actually live someone's memories. So
Yo.
there was a scene that they showed all of like 15 seconds for,
Mhm.
and it was the character taking a jack out of his wrist and implanting it in the back of another character and living the memories through their
I
eyes
think that was
to break
actually
down a crime scene.
I think that was like the E3 presentation last year. They kind of like touched on that a little bit. Where like
Maybe. But
I'm not sure, but I think I saw something similar. But
yeah.
also like so we we've all played Assassin's Creed at this point. Like one thing like one piece of conversation that comes up when it comes to experiencing someone's memories as one like the bleed is real, like if you learned a skill or because someone else knew the skill and you could experience it, like you still retain the experience. Like, but also if you live too long as somebody else or you experience too much as somebody else, like think about the mental like cascade effect. Like imagine like two consciousness crashing like against each other. Like it's kind of like the whole like sleeper cell like mindset, like with a code word, like you awaken. But like what if like you don't just forget what you have, so like you have this and then you have this, and if these fall on top of each other, like think about like how mind breaking that is, like the mental strain. Like that person would probably like psychologically go berserk.
You have a mental conflict of trying to figure out who you are at
Right.
that point
Like
because you're living two different like lives at that
but
point.
also think of the mental fatigue of experiencing that. Like if you could remember every dream you ever had in real time, your brain would not fucking work.
Right. You'd
Like
have a mental overload.
cuz it's just too much to take in.
I think you have like 10,000 something dreams in a night or something like that. Like you like not the one dream that you remember isn't a continuation of like the one same dream. It's like multiple dreams that you have throughout the night conjoined into like one thing. Um, hold on. Let me put my glasses on for this because that's a lot of text. Um, Unit Cloak says, "What about AI somnium files, where the consciousness of someone else could consume the others and duplicate someone by accident?" That's kind of what you were hitting on a little
Yeah,
bit.
like when you
You have an identity crisis.
you would think you were the other person. I mean, the original Final Fantasy VII, that's actually what Cloud is going through. He thinks he's
Yeah,
Zack. He because he was never soldier first class. Like Cloud was just a soldier. He was just in the program. Zack was the soldier first class. Like Zack was the guy that did all the stuff before the game. And you learn all that shit in Crisis Core, and then like somehow it fucks with Cloud's memories, and he thinks he's Zack. I mean, he thinks he's Cloud, but his experiences, he thinks he's Zack.
right.
And like that, like he dead ass thought he was somebody else until like they kind of had to bring him out of that. That's kind of wild.
Zero says, "So in the world of Cyberpunk, people who watch the news can jack in and experience the moment and feelings in that moment." That's fucking crazy.
Think it just imagine how mentally emotionally straining that is to experience that on the regular. Like, would you just become numb? Like, would you just
Hmm.
not like? Is that how they desensitize the populace? Because by experiencing like these tragic events in the news, you get to the point where you don't care. You know, it kind of like boils down to the old adage, like the death of a person, a man is a tragedy, death of a million is a statistic.
Yeah.
Like it, it's like, could it happen so often that you're just like, damn, or you're not even like, damn, you're just like, oh, huh, that building blew up. Guess gotta take an alternate route to work. Like,
So
so
actually,
crazy.
Zero brought up something really interesting here. He said some people get the thrill of that because they want to know what the feeling of like robbing somebody, right, or like robbing somebody in a store or something goes, right, and then they can jack into the news. In Cyberpunk, they can jack into the news and experience what it was like robbing a store, right?
Would it be robbing or being robbed?
They, I mean, they could
I
probably
guess
go through
I
both.
would assume they could pull the aggressors like memories if they arrested him, and if they
Hmm.
don't, like you just get like the clerk, like the fear and the terror and shit.
Keenum Boynum at Baman Boy, you don't one expect the unexpected. What is this? What is this? I don't know what this is. I have
Also,
no idea.
I wonder if you can use like the augment thing stuff to kind of like the Matrix to like learn skills. Like, damn, I don't
Yeah,
know how to fight here. I'm just gonna suddenly I can do kung fu.
right. That would be really interesting. Um, I don't know if I'm gonna like bare knuckle brawl in the game or if I'm gonna use like a full on melee weapon. Cause like I know you can just like beat the shit out of people, but I also know you can get katanas and shit. So I don't know if I'm gonna like carry a fucking katana on my side or something. Zero says also in the Final Fantasy 7 thing, it's more complex because Cloud also lies and is an unreliable narrator. He was ashamed he didn't become soldier, and he had Mako poisoning, so Zack telling him stories also imprinted onto him. I actually didn't know any of that.
Yeah, they cover it in Crisis Core. Like
That's bum.
basically,
Wait, is that the
he
show or the
no
movie? I mean.
Crisis Core is the PSP game.
Oh, okay, okay. That explains it. I never got to play my
Oh, it's
PSP.
super good.
PSP broke.
Super good.
My PSP broke the day I got it. So.
Oh, super sick game. Uh, but yeah, like Cloud is the definition of an unreliable narrator up until like the middle of fucking Final Fantasy VII.
Hmm, that's interesting. I did
Mhm.
not know
Yeah,
this.
and
So
so
his
like,
remake.
so he's kind of like essentially like he's in a coma, and like Zack comes up and he's just kind of like he tells him stories about like his adventures and his endeavors and stuff. And so like when Cloud like comes out of that, he's like, "Oh, I did all this cool shit," you know? Like he thinks he did because like he's got slick amnesia, slick not.
Hmm.
But also like that's what the whole crisis at the end of or in Advent Children was like he was trying to figure himself out.
Zero says the crazy thing is Tifa knows. She knows the entire time. She brought Cloud to Avalanche to watch over him.
Yeah, because they were childhood
I
friends.
I did not know any of this. This is all news to me. I played through 7 when I was like really young. I played through the original Final Fantasy 7 game when I was like really.
Yeah, he's
So
the
I
big titty tomboy girlfriend.
solid. That also raises a number of questions about what Final Fantasy 7 remake is.
It's just a deviation from fate. Is the
Yeah, but
whole
I mean,
like
like,
premise of it.
is he still experiencing all of that, or did it
Oh, you're
cut
right
off and
though.
it
I
became a
wonder.
whole different thing because of the ending? You know,
Hmm.
because of how it ended, is it a whole different experience? Like now he has no idea what to experience because it's nothing that was imprinted on him.
Yeah, because like they save Zach and stuff, don't they? Like some wild shit.
Uh, I mean, I guess so because the spoiler alert for everybody here. I mean, Final Fantasy 7 remake's been out for
A
a
while.
while now, so spoiler alert for Final Fantasy 7 remake. But yeah, I think they go back and like save him or something because Cloud dies instead in that universe. Because when Zack fights all the enemies at that one spot at the very end of the game during that cutscene, like he's the only one who's actually like alive at that point. So I think Cloud is dead, technically, or something. Maybe
Ah,
he's like unconscious at that point. Maybe that's when he loses his consciousness. You know what I mean? But that wouldn't explain why he has the Buster Sword and why Zack is nowhere to be found. I don't know. It's confusing as shit. We're not gonna know anything until the second game comes out. But from the little cutscene at the end, like I just remember it being Zack and not Cloud that was left standing. The Zack thing is a parallel universe because Stamp is a different dog breed on the packaging. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, so it is a different universe. They walked into a different universe at the end of the game, anyways. Remember
mm-hmm.
when they went and fought Sephiroth? Like when they walked through that path and they had to fight the three, the yellow, the blue, and the green. Like that was them from an alternate universe that they had to fight and destroy to rewrite a different story or whatever. That shit was so crazy. I have no fuck. That shit was
Also,
wild.
shout out to the shout out because you said rewrite. Haha, funny. Fuck you, I'm funny.
Closest Final Fantasy confuses me so much. It confuses everybody. Don't feel bad about it confusing you. Final Fantasy 7 is fucking confusing in general. Try and play Final Fantasy the stories with lightning. That shit'll blow you out of the fucking water. You won't know what the hell's going on. I still don't know what the hell was happening, and I got to beat it. I played it all the way through. But anyways, that pretty much does it for everything that I have on Cyberpunk. Is there anything specifically that you want to talk about as far as Cyberpunk goes?
No, like I said earlier or mentioned before we started like the podcast, is I've tried to stay. I'm at the point where like I try to stay out of like the media for games before they release, and I choose to not like speculate on the game itself too much because I don't want to, like Unit Cloak said earlier, like I don't want to overhype myself. I don't want to sit here and like fuck
Yeah,
myself up. Like I want to sit and experience it and then have the conversation on the back end, but like I'm down to contemplate like the world and stuff.
hmm,
But like the actual like mechanics of the narrative and the gameplay and stuff like that, like I choose to avoid all that kind of shit. Like
right,
I caught up on like the timeline of like events and why the world is the way it is and shit like that. But besides that, like I chose to like attempt to avoid all that kind of stuff. Um,
gotcha.
because RPGs especially like are such like they all hold such potential to be such a rich story to consume, like, and I just want to experience the story. So I choose to not like like what another point is like I'm part of the Kingdom Hearts fandom, and Lord have mercy, did we speculate super hard on Kingdom Hearts 3 and like 99.9% of people were wrong as fuck.
We're wrong. We
And
were all
it's
wrong
like, bro,
about
y'all
it.
all eat dicks. Like y'all had me fucked up for fucking 12 years to be wrong. So like I
I
choose to not like have that happen to me. It's
Final Fantasy 3.
like The World Ends with You got a sequel. Yeah, the sequel got announced to come out next summer. The anime is supposed to start in a couple months, and like people are already like speculating on The World Ends with You too, like the story about it. I'm just like, no, please stop. I don't want it. I don't want to talk about it. Like I just want to play the game. I want to watch the anime. I want to watch, and I want to play the game. That's it. Just stop talking to me
Right.
about it, please. You know, because like,
Yeah.
bro, speculation like drives me insane. Because like your perspective of something and my perspective of something, and then the creator's perspective of something are all different.
Hmm.
And I choose to just listen to what he has to say when his product is created.
Um, so Zero is going on about Final Fantasy. So, he said actually that were three main bad guys from Advent Children because there are two Sephiroth. One from Advent Children, he knows he loses and will change it, and the other one is from the original series. Unicloak says Ignis, and I don't know what the hell that name is. Saza,
Saz,
I don't know.
Saz.
Are my favorite. Okay, Saz are my favorite Final Fantasy characters. Everyone called it Persona 5, and I laughed my ass off. Well, yeah, it was kind of like Persona 5. Japan is a real place, people. Yeah. So before we go ahead and we end the stream, chat, is there anything that you would like to ask like our personal thoughts on certain things uh as far as Cyberpunk 2020 or 2077 goes? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Same goes for your side, Thomas. I don't know if you're streaming right now. Are you streaming right now?
Yeah, we're vibing.
Okay, cool. Got you. Cyberpunk bomb rush opinion. Wait, what? Bomb rush cyberpunk? I have no idea what the hell that is. What is that? What the hell is cyberpunk?
I have no idea.
What you up to, huh?
Chilla.
That's a game that's coming out. What, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk? I've never heard of that. What do you mean? Hold on. I'm about to Google what this is.
Oh, there it is. It's right there. What is this?
Oh yeah, I see it too. Jesus, that popped up fast. What the hell is this? It looks like
Yo, is this Jet Set Radio?
it looks like Jet Set Radio. It looks just like Jet Set, but it's not like apparently it's going to come on Steam. What the hell? It looks exactly like Jet Set Radio, like graphics and stuff. I think you touched on everything I thought you would. Really interesting that you would say that. By the way, for all of you that are here right now, I will be live tomorrow morning. I'll be doing my stream for Danganronpa 2, so I hope you guys come and hang out and kick it for that. So, because I have to make up for the fact that I had a really small stream yesterday. By the way, my dog is doing fine. We got him medicated and stuff, but we'll be taking care of that. But if that is everything, I'm kind of excited to see what Cyberpunk is. I'll take a look at it once I finish my stream today, and I'll get back to you, Unicloak. Glad to know you. I got you. I think I may have found new line of discussion for next time. What Cyberpunk? That would be a cool thing to discuss. I think. Rewrite. Have you put in any thought on what you want the next topic to be?
That's gonna be on the. I thought we were gonna do the follow up to this.
We, I
The
do think we
cyberpunk follow
are.
the cyber yeah, the cyberpunk follow up.
Yeah, but I think the game, if it ends up getting pushed back, if the game ends up getting pushed back again or delayed again, we've got to come up with something. So we're gonna have to come up with a topic, and it's your turn to pick the topic. Okay, I've picked like the last three topics. Well, we've agreed on them, so it's all right. But it's your turn to pick the topic. And for anybody that has any kind of suggestions on any other topic, please feel free to hit the Discord and drop it, or leave a comment, a like, subscribe, a follow, etc., on the YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. Um, and I will see you guys in the next one. I can't wait to see what your suggestions. By the way, I'm sure Thomas will enjoy them as well. But that's gonna do it for me, and I think that's gonna do it for Thomas too. But but I will see you guys, or we will see you guys on the next episode. Cartography. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Bye bye, everyone. Bye
Goodbye,
bye,
people.
everyone. Goodbye.